Good morning. My name is Tara Duguay, and I am going to present a Readers and Writers Workshop curriculum. I am a pre-K3 teacher in Lufkin Independent School District, but this curriculum is designed for kindergarten. An overview of the curriculum shows that students will be engaged in many different types of activities throughout the day in reading and writing. I will be using a theme strategy which helps students to relate to reading and writing through activities in their daily lives. For example, some of the themes would be me, my body, community, helpers, fall harvest, and animals in the fall. Comprehension lessons and writing lessons are based on read-alouds, and the main focus of many of these lessons is to encourage talk and collaboration with peers and choice in the kinds of activities that students want to do to help them learn. Resources that I use to put the curriculum together are Katie Wood Ray's In Pictures and in Words, Jennifer Saravallo's Writing Strategies book, and Martha Horn and Mary Ellen Giacobbe wrote a book called Talking, Drawing, and Writing, which has a lot of great ideas about writing. Many read-alouds can be used for a theme-centered curriculum. These are just a few of the books that I have used over the years. And then mentor texts for writing and for Writers Workshop. Again, some of the same books can be used for read-alouds as for writing because they not only have good stories and good ways to learn comprehension strategies, but also good examples of what writers do, what successful writers do when they write. The main components of this curriculum are choice. So students have a choice in the things that they learn. When students have a choice, they're more invested in the learning, and learning becomes more meaningful. Talk is very important. The development of oral language is encouraged because when students talk, that is the way that they make meaning when they're learning. And collaboration. Students work together and learn from one another rather than just learning, lecture style where they're just listening to the teacher. Also present in this curriculum is a framework called the Gradual Release of Responsibility. In this framework, teachers begin by delivering instruction that is explicit and instruction that is systematic, where they model exactly what they want the student to be doing. So such things like read-alouds or modeled writing would be modeling. The second phase of the gradual release of responsibility is where you share the work. So rather than a read-aloud where the teacher just reads, a shared reading, something that is connected, something that is repetitive, where students can get involved in the reading. Books like Brown Bear, What Do You See? Students can get involved in that. They can predict what is coming up in the story. Shared writing or interactive writing, where students share the pen and they're able to write some of the words of the writing that you're doing together. The third step in the gradual release of responsibility is scaffolded learning. This would be taking place in guided reading, where students are doing the work, but they're working just above they're working in their zone of proximal development, which is just above their independent level. So reading and writing just above their independent level, it necessitates the need for the teacher to be there to kind of guide them through activities that are just out of their reach independently that they can do with assistance. And then, of course, student-directed activities where students complete independent work, independent reading, independent writing. Those are things that the teacher would allow them to complete on their own and still be available for help, but students would mainly be doing this at their independent level. So the two components of the Readers and Writers Workshop are reading, of course. Reading involves read-alouds, mini lessons, independent reading and guided reading, and time to share. Students need time to reflect and discuss what they're learning, what they're comprehending from reading, whether it's something a teacher's reading or something they're reading themselves. And then the writing aspect. Again, a mini lesson is presented. Students have independent writing with conferences and a share time. I found the share time to be extremely important to students because if they don't realize that they're going to have to share their work, sometimes they don't really feel accountable. Versus when students know that they're going to have to share their work with other students, they're held a little bit more accountable for what they're going to put down, that they're going to have to engage in some kind of writing activities. So they'll have something to share when they're called upon. Of course, you can select students who have done a great job that day. You can just go down a list, but have students share. So it can be many different ways of sharing. Author's chair, where students can talk about their writing and other students get a chance to ask questions or make comments about their writing. And students really enjoy kind of being the center of attention and sharing the things that they can do. So the first component, choice in the classroom, it happens during independent learning time. These might be called centers, stations, whatever they're called. Students have the opportunity to select activities that they want to do, that are meaningful to them, that relate to their lives, or things that they have enjoyed learning, through whole group time. The second aspect would be talking in the classroom. Again, talking is such an important component of any curriculum because young students, like kindergartners, need to use talk in order to make meaning of the things that they're trying to learn. They use talk to learn rather than use talk just to show comprehension. So in writing, I was super excited to find that there are activities that students can use in writing that begin with storytelling. Students can orally narrate a story from their own life. And, they're not encumbered by the constraints of writing, the constraints of drawing. This is especially helpful for students who may have any learning disabilities or dyslexia or dysgraphia. One of my sons has dysgraphia, and he could tell a great story, but when it came to writing it down, his stories were very sparse, very limited, because he would only write down things that he could actually spell correctly, things that he was comfortable writing about. And so, he would tell you something elaborate, but when it came to writing it down on paper, he had difficulty putting elaborate things down on paper. So the storytelling enables students to be able to elaborate. You could record it. You could use the language approach and experience language approach, where students can record what they're writing. The teacher can record it, so that students can see that even though they might have a hard time putting things down on paper, they are still storytellers. They still have a story to tell that relates to their lives. The other section would be reading then. So again, reading is also a time for oral language development, especially with young children. Again, teachers can use activities such as turn and talk to enable young learners to be able to discuss their thoughts about reading, whether the reading is something that the teacher has read aloud or something that the students have read on their own, which of course is quite limited in kindergarten, but something through guided reading or shared reading. And oral language development is very important in enabling students to concretize, what they understand from reading. The third component is collaboration in the classroom, meaning students work together. And this is very important because students do learn, and they learn quite a bit from adult interactions through discussion and oral language. However, they also learn from their peers. There are many things that they feel much more comfortable talking with their peers about because they don't feel the pressure of, am I going to give the right answer? Like they do when they're talking to the teacher. I've had students in my class that were so quiet because they were so afraid to talk to me. But when you walk around and look in centers, they discuss things with their peers. So buddy reading or discussion during writing. I've been in teachers' classrooms where you go in during writing and there's not a sound. And my classroom has never been like that ever, just because I talk a lot. So, and I allow my students to talk. Now, of course, I want them to be discussing what they're writing about. So you have to, make sure students know what discussion is appropriate during writing and what kinds of things they're supposed to be discussing so that they can get the most out of, the language that they're using with their peers. Engaging activities are also very important. Students need to be able to participate in activities where they take an active role. Of course, young children are not going to sit long for a lecture guided activity, a teacher given lecture. So you're going to have to do activities, and there are many activities in here where students are engaged, where they participate in things. Mini lessons on reading, shared reading, shared writing activities, or even other activities that may not look academic, but that help concretize learning and vocabulary for students. When they're doing something fun that they enjoy, they remember, vocabulary and skills that the teacher is trying to teach because it's doing something that they enjoy. Finally, this reader and writers workshop should be designed such that learning transcends time and place. So education is not just what you learn while you're at school, although you are being educated at school, but education really is, all the things, all your experiences that you have in school, out of school, and how they connect and what's meaningful to you. And so each person has a different experience, but we all are able to learn and grow as individuals. Thank you for listening, and I appreciate your taking the time.